Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. Hey, I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering the Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 16, episode 17 or 18. This is the finale and allegedly Sweet 16. But was it really? I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. You can also subscribe if you are new and leave your comments below. Now, let's get into this supersized episode. Okay, y'all. We're at the end. This is going to be a short video. Yeah. First and foremost, I just want to say, defund truly original entertainment. Y'all suck arse. And y'all know what I mean. Y'all suck. Y'all have been in connection with Bravo for a good 16, 17 years. And this is the that y'all want to bring to us. So we get a scene with Phaedra, Portia, and Lauren. We find out that Lauren was on the call with Londi, their cousin, as she was transitioning out of the earth. I was like, whoa. I don't think I said this last week, but my condolences to her family and all that. I do have a heart. I could say some stuff that could be inappropriate, but also justified at the same time. But I won't. All I can say is that I've seen those clips from Portia's Family Values, and I'll keep it there. I do have a heart, despite some of the stuff I do on here and say. It's just, I get tired of the ridiculous stuff that happens sometimes, so I just unleash. Yeah, grief and death is not a good subject for me at all. I understand it and all that good stuff. I do not care about Phaedra's connection to death and funerals and all that stuff. I understand that this is the place where you plug businesses or whatever, but you just really, to me, get a kick out of people dying, and it's weird and crazy, which I love that stuff coming from her. Angela, she goes to her therapist. I've already seen people in the comments, why is she with this white woman? Why not? Didn't she go to school to be a therapist? Isn't she trained for that? Who cares? Like, what? So black people can only give you advice. Well, most black people don't even want to go to therapy. Not saying that there aren't black therapists. There are. If you find one, good. Whoever, get help. That's where we're at. Y'all are very, very, whatever. Anyways, Wendy is her therapist, and they've been going to therapy, her and Charles, since 2017. She confides that she's going to lose the homes. We've seen at the end of the episode that Angela was able to sell 2 of the homes, but still it was lost. She didn't gain anything from it. But she says that she's learned a whole lot. You know, she had rather cut off the finger than lose the whole hand, you know, that whole metaphor, but or an analogy. But she's learned a lot, and I think that that's great. I think it's a good message to send. Everything doesn't work out. It's what you do afterwards. Some people, stuff ain't working out, and then they're either very prideful about and don't want to admit it, act like blame everybody else for whatever, but she is honest, and she's just letting us know these are failures that she's been through. So let's I say give her applause for that, in my opinion, because it's what you do after you fail, quote unquote fail. They talk about her and Charles's marriage and all of that. She said that it's taking years for her to trust Charles. I know it said once a cheater, always a cheater. I know it's like a no way, Jose, if your spouse or significant other cheats on you, don't go back, blah, 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 blah. And it's typically known as Angela being a fool. Forte. I think that she's worked through some stuff, though. She got the help. And he got the help, as according to them. You know, all I can do is take it at face value. I'm not in their marriage. And we see the stuff where it looks like Charles is nonchalant, don't really care, I just don't really feel like he's really into this camera stuff. I really do. I think in some type of ways, I think Charles needs to, if he agreed to let Angela do this and to come into their lives, I think he could be a better sport at it sometimes, you know. But I think last episode he showed himself really in a better light than what we have seen before. Of course, she talked about last week's episode and what's been presented about Charles cheating and all that. And at this point, I guess Charles is a target. Charles knows he's a target. Wendy brought that up too, that he talks about that. Unfortunately, Charles, that's people's angle, especially if you've been a known cheater. They're going to come at you, and that label is going to be on there. It's basically how you deal with it, in my opinion. So Angela, at this point, says that she's tired of the poking at Charles and their marriage. And Wendy says, what do you want to get out of all this stuff? And she says that she wants to make a point to leave us alone. Shamia, she has this concert that she pulls off. We didn't know that this was happening. It just happened out of the blue. And I like your single, Shamia, but it's just like, okay, so you're just full-blown artist. Where did that come from? Gerald's there. Ooh, he makes a cameo. He's so proud of his wife. I hate truly original entertainment because there's so many gaps. Like, I'm not getting it. I like for stuff to make sense. I understand stuff is edited, but y'all can't even let things flow. And I I don't like all of this. Oh, now she's an artist. But we knew about you singing, but you haven't even talked about singing in so many weeks. So it's like, okay, so now you're bringing off a performance. You haven't been performing for 20 years, you said? And then the mic goes out when, well, the track is over and you don't hit the notes. And you're like, oh, I'm nervous. Of course you're nervous. How come we couldn't see some buildup of that? I don't know. It's just hard for me to get interested as you as an artist. And you can sing. But it's just not a great follow-up. And it probably is production. But it's just like, how do I really get invested in these folks? How do I, for real? Y'all can say I'm nagging and complaining, but I don't know how to connect with these people. I mean, some of y'all just whack off the cuff. But it's just like, I'm the problem if I have something negative to say or to critique this show. And Drew has her comments. Now, certain people online are saying, I don't like it when folks are shading other people's performances when they did very well. But wasn't Shamia doing that to her? Wasn't she going off the show to say other shady things? And now y'all got something to say against Drew for what Shamia already did to her? With evidence that Shamia messed up? Shut up. Maybe I shouldn't have done this review. Maybe I should have. But I'm just getting some things off my chest. Angela announces that she's having a gala. Her and Charles are having the Charles Oakley Foundation. They've been doing this since 2017 also. And they feed the homeless, and also their goal this year is to feed, their goal, what is it? The goal is 100,000 to raise, and so that they can feed children and all that good stuff. Sounds like a great organization. They start talking about followers because Kelly was like, look, well, whatever we need to do to help and all this good stuff, let us know. And Drew asked, how many followers do you have? And Kelly said, I have 150. And then Britt said, oh, all of a sudden you got all these followers. She got 80K followers in one day or overnight. And then Kelly was like, oh, I see that you're really following me and paying attention to my page. Well, probably both of y'all done did the same thing to get your followers. So I'm just saying. That's the kind of catty stuff that I like to see. That stuff last week was just dumb. So I just don't know what is authentic on if they hate each other or don't or love each other or whatever. Because it's just like, now it's time to perform for the cameras, in my opinion. But to some of y'all, those are your new faves. And they really bringing it. Okay. Let's see. And then Kelly tells Angela, you better give us a number because some of us don't know how to donate. I said, Lord Jesus. So Shamia comes out in her artist apparel like we're supposed to take you serious. Do you know how many people just seem like they just jump in phone booths and come out in a costume? That's basically her. Whack. arse. Oh, I want to say so bad. Shamia. Okay. With her eyeglasses on like you are important. You're Gerald's wife. And Portia's booty implant. That's it. So Shamia and that other girl have a talk. Because we find out that Cynthia had a conversation. She decided to be a bone carrier. She finally lived up to the friend of the housewives role on episode 17 or 18, whatever it is. And she tells Shamia what that other girl was talking about. Her. So, of course, Shamia's like, I never did that. I never showed you anything. Britt said, yes, you did. Da, 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 da. And then it gets to the point where she starts accusing Shamia of, is your daughter that sick? Since you were throwing shots here and all that. Shamia started saying stuff about how she got naked. Oh, yes, I got naked. See, this, what is the amount of the lawsuit that she's doing? Does not make any sense. You admit it on camera. Lord Jesus, that lawsuit about to get dismissed, y'all. And you know what I'm talking about, Snapchat cat. Because they made sure that they left it in there that, oh yeah, I got naked. Because y'all saw the other footage of her getting naked, right? Yeah, she showed everything from the rooter to the tutor. So Shamia calls her a lady of the night. Apparently, Shamia's been cheating on Gerald. News to us, since nobody really wants to bring anything bad out about her. And they leave. They look a fool and a mess. Now, Shamia, I can take it both ways. People said, well, she wasn't really talking about her parenting. I get that. She wasn't. Shamia can be dramatic and over-exaggerate stuff. Could I see Shamia taking offense by what that girl said? Basically said that Shiloh is not as sick as she is. I think Britt meant it as, is she? Were you just carrying on for us? If you were out getting shots with Kelly and all that good stuff. But I think you said in Miami, that's when they had when they came back from Grenada, if you watched the after show, they had to stop in Miami before they could go to Atlanta. Not whatever. She had shots. So I think Britt meant it as Shamia was putting on a performance for us and Shiloh isn't sick. You cannot, I will say this much, you cannot tell somebody who's been dealing with something very traumatic with their child how sick they are and all that stuff, and if she's putting on a performance or not. This child who has been very sickly, I will say that much. But again, I can see it both ways. Britt may just saying that you were putting on a show, and you saying, how dare you say that my child isn't as sick as I said that she is. I can see it. Drew and Ralph and this dumb divorce. Can I come upstairs so we can talk? Sure. How did we get here? Y'all are 3 seasons too late to be having this conversation. You know how the court documents are? I can't even see my children, Monday through Friday. And Drew's like, well, you can ask for permission to see them. What's the problem? What is it? This was a dumb conversation. Ralph needed some screen time. Kelly, were you giving us a little shoulder and taking it back with this whole restaurant thing? Because now you can't show anything about the restaurant or move forward with your restaurant because you want to get divorced so that it's not tied up with the assets that you need to divvy up with your husband. So you have a restaurant with no restaurant? I'm not talking about this scene with Chi-Chi and his employer. Y'all can on y'all channel or in the comments. Snapchat Cat now is looking at jets. Let's move on. And now we get this all of a sudden family gathering. All the in-laws are finally meeting for the first time on camera for a show. They never had. We got married, which I believe is a lie. During COVID, which I believe is a lie. And I can show you proof, which I will. I have a video coming up. Even though it doesn't really matter too much because she's off the show and she's being dumb. So all the family know. So she makes an announcement to all the family that shows up that they're going to be having a ceremony. No, meaning that I'm finally going to get legal. And all the people are going to be there, and then we're going to work on the baby. Okay. Charles Oakley Foundation. I don't even know what I wrote down for the 50,000, but whatever. So the event starts. I have no clue why the ladies are mic'd up while the event is going on, because you see all truly original. Truly original. They started talking and we're like, we can't really hear nothing. My God. You can hear better at Ken Zodiac's wedding to Croy back in the day. I get what Angela tries to do, and I wish she stopped being so peaceful with people that don't want to be peaceful with her. But maybe she's returning the favor because of them giving her a cake during Grenada for her anniversary. They decide to honor Portia since she lost her cousin. I guess. We find out that they raised $107K for this event. So good job to everyone. And now the mess begins. Angela is now presenting her case as to what has happened to her and how Marcus was able to infiltrate this event. Angela's had her suspicions in regards to Kelly. Well, this was your event. How did he get in there? Kelly says in the after show that it was a public event, so anyone could come. Still could seem strategic if you open it up for the public all of a sudden and people can just get in at random, but somehow they still get mic'd up and all that stuff. Somebody knew something. Yeah, she said it was odd that you did this toast, da 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 da. And then she said, well, I didn't know if it was you, Snapchat cat, because of the stuff that we went through. And then she said, oh, well, we've been able to get past our stuff. Like, I wouldn't do that as a married woman. And then Kelly starts to chuckle. Phaedra says, stop. Angela says, well, I think that me and Drew really got down to the bottom of it. So Drew comes and brings Marcus over to the thing. Over to where all the ladies are. And Marcus is about to explain where he got all this information from. Charles sees him and says, nah, player, nah, you need to get up out of here. Angela didn't tell Charles what she was up to. And I think that was crazy not to do that, but I think she knew that Charles wasn't going to have it. He disrespected you, dude, Angela. No, he needs to go. Somehow, Angela told Charles to trust me. I thought all this yelling and stuff was at the dudes. Well, then what the... But Charles said, you lucky. Yeah, you lucky. And I wouldn't feel no type of ways if Charles did beat you to a pulp. Oh well. Because you wanted to start mess. Angela in her confessionals was like, look, I did this because I wanted your name to be cleared. And Charles said, I'm not worried about all that. Whatever. Basically, my name's already cleared. I knew he was on nonsense anyways. So Marcus ends up saying that it was Phaedra that gave the information. He's got this connect that told him about this stuff called Junebug. They met him with this envelope. I was like, what the crap? It does sound like Marcus did the okadoke on Angela. However, Angela said, wait a minute. Phaedra's denying everything. However, Angela said, well, you're the one that gave me the information. You're the one that gave me the crumbs to go to start searching after this dude. So I know it was you. I said, Lord, you knew where he worked at. First you said, I remember his name. And Phaedra. She said, what kind of beef would I have with you, Angela? I don't know. All I know is that anytime that Angela got something to say, or Phaedra got something to say, this is what's up. So we didn't get anywhere with that. And then something about a child. Angela starts bringing up Apollo. Does Apollo get to see the children and all that? I don't know why that came up. And then Phaedra was talking about foreclosure, but I think that was beforehand. If before Angela said what she said, I think. But then Kelly was like, don't bring up children. Don't bring up children. Don't bring up children. Shamia was like, well, this girl brought up mine. And I was ready to beat her. And then Snapchat said, is that a threat? No, a threat was when you were threatening Kenya with the pow pow. I said, oh, so we're talking about that now? Oh, so there was this investigation, Bravo. Remember, Andy, you said that all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, there goes Snapchat, and she got to leave. Interesting. Kelly and Shamia accuse Britt, of course, well, they're in the lines now. Portia says that Angela did it to herself. I don't think so. But I do think that Angela's been duped. Cynthia tells Portia that she told Shamia about what Snapchat said to her. And she was like, oh, you shouldn't have told her none of that. However, this girl wants to move. She can move that way. I'm still going to be here whenever she want to come back here. That don't even make sense. Now you're trying to act like you're just so unbothered and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We found out later that Portia got this house that she can't afford, and she really, in the divorce decree, said that Simon got to pay the mortgage. And guess what? Simon over in Nigeria, and he ain't paying. And he's already contesting the ruling and all that good stuff. So, whatever. Yeah, y'all could have kept this. This was not a finale. Angela gave us some entertainment. I'll just say that much for the Oakley part, but everything else just was very disconnected and all that good stuff. So, anyways, I'm done with the season. I'm not watching the reunion. I'm not reviewing the reunion. Whatever. Kenya should have been there. Sorry. And there's no real reason as to why Snapchat did not show up to the reunion. If this is what was aired this way, there's no, because really, Shamia and Kelly are really full of ish, if I want to be honest about it. These interviews that they've been going on have been for nothing. But I'll have a separate video of me giving my final thoughts on this whole season. And I have a couple more. I still got to do the reunion outfit. I'll do that part, but I will not watch the reunion. Y'all have fun on your own, doing whatever. That's all I got. Let me know what you think. Thank you for coming. Like this video, subscribe, and share. Until the next one, peace.